All right, let's start. Good morning or good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this webinar. My name is Pierrick Martel, and I'm in charge of product marketing at Centreon. Today, I'm joined by Colin Gagnaire, who's a product manager at Centreon. We will discuss the Centreon Auto-Discovery Engine. This webinar is the first webinar of a series of 3 webinars. I will show you at the end of this presentation today the dates and agenda of the next 2 webinars coming about technical details on the Centreon 20.10, which is the latest software release. We have a question and answer session after Colin will have presented everything. So please ask questions during the webinar. There is a question tool on the right-hand side. While Colin is speaking, please just type in your questions. I will solve the questions on my screen, and at the end of the presentation, I will read the questions so that Colin can answer all those questions. Good. So I will start with one slide before I leave the mic to Colin. This is to say that Centreon is selling an IT monitoring platform where we are advertising cloud-to-edge monitoring. We are monitoring everything from the cloud all the way to the edge, and including the on-prem and legacy equipments. And in order to make sure that your monitoring configuration is always up to date, so that there are no blind spots, you always monitor everything. We have 2 mechanisms. One is a set of APIs so that your IT automation tools, like typically Ansible, can at the same time deploy a new server maybe, and at the same time tell Centreon to start monitoring the server. But this is not enough. And we have this other mechanism, which we call the Auto-Discovery Engine, which is here to either discover new assets, changes in your infrastructure, or to discover what it is that there is to monitor into your equipment that has been discovered or that have been configured through the API or through the user interface. And this is possible because the platform includes a set of configuration templates. We call them plugin packs. There are more than 470 plugin packs that the platform has access to, and these plugin packs contains all the configuration templates which are required so that you can start monitoring in one mouse click or one API call. And it also includes everything which is needed in order to use this discovery mechanism. All right, that's the very high-level picture about what we're about to talk. But I will ask Colin. So I will first make sure that Colin can share his screen with us.
Yes.
Thank you.
Nope, this one. Yes, it's okay. I
So,
think I need to share it, but by hiding some of my screen.
So I can see a Centreon. Okay. Should I start again?
Yes, please. Can you just give me the yep?
I think. All right. Let's start again. I'm sharing your screen.
This one.
And I can see your slide, Centreon.
Yes.
All right. So thank you, Colin, for joining, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Pierrick, and thank you everyone for joining too. So yes, like Pierrick said, I'm going to show some slides to lay the main concepts of what we call discovery in Centreon, and then I will show you a little demo to do actual discovery on both host and services. So what do we call auto-discovery in Centreon? Actually, like I just said, is 2 things: host discovery and service discovery. Host discovery and service discovery to match 2 concepts you already know in Centreon: the hosts which represents your equipments or your cloud instances, and the services, which represent the actual check of the health or the performance of your host or application. So we have two kind of discoveries, but the two are working together. So you will have a full scope of discovery covering here. And how does it come to your Centreon? Well, actually, it's packed in something you already know. Also, the plugin pack. Until now, you mostly know the plugin pack for bringing host templates, service templates, and commands. But in some of those plugin packs, you may find some providers which are used for host discovery and rules which are used for service discovery. And of course, several plugin packs may allow to do discoveries, and I can just tell you to just go to the documentation on docs.centreon.com and search for plugin packs for more information. So now we know that this configuration comes from the plugin packs, but how does it meet your platform? On what do we rely to do the actual discovery? Until now, also, you already know all the components of your infrastructure. So you have the web UI on which you are configuring host services and everything else until now. Also, you use it, of course, to visualize the checks, the real-time monitoring. You also have the broker engine and plugins stack, which do the actual monitoring. So from the scheduler to the data multiplexing to the database and then the web UI. So you already know all those components. And we have a newcomer, the Gorgon service, which replaced the old Cencore service. And this service is used to do all the other tasks of administration and operation, like pushing the configuration to the pollers or pushing the actions from the web UI, like the acknowledgements, the done times, or the force check. And for the discovery, we will rely on Gorgon exclusively and the plugins. The same plugins you are using for monitoring will be used for discovery. And of course, it works if you have a central standalone setup, but it can also work if you have a distributed architecture with remote server, pollers, which have a Gorgon installed on it, or even Poller without Gorgon. So here, just a reminder that we are using the same communication system as we do for any other action in the web UI. So now let's have a little demo so I can show you actual discoveries on both host and service, for both host and service. So I have here a 20.10 platform, a simple one with just a central and a poller. I did install some plugin packs to have some configuration. So here I have VMware, Windows and Linux through SNMP, a generic SNMP one, also an Amazon EC2 plugin pack. Don't hesitate each time you look at a plugin pack to just look at those cards and also look at the online documentation. Here you will find information about the plugin pack itself. What does it provide in terms of metrics, in terms of host templates and service templates, in terms of configuration. And also it will help you install it and install the prerequisites like the plugin itself, and sometimes more if there is some other dependencies. You can find all the plugin packs in this documentation, so don't hesitate to take a look at it. You'll find also a list of available host discovery providers here. So let's go back to my platform here. So if I go there, I'll see that I have no host yet. And I have a discovery submenu here that will allow me to do some discovery. I already have one job, but let's add another one. Here, I want to do a VMware discovery. So I can name my job to identify it if I have several of them. So here I will just try to discover the VM that are on our development infrastructure at Centreon. We'll actually do this this discovery from my poller, not from my central. Okay. And actually, my poller will contact another host to do the actual discovery, which is this one. So those are typical parameters I have to provide to make my discovery work or to influence the way it will be done. Next, I have some mappers. The mappers are the rules that will be applied to the results of my discovery. Here is just a preview with fake data to help you decide which mappers you want to use or the combination of mapper you want to use. But we will talk about it later. And then I have two last steps to define how my discovery will be affecting my configuration. The first one is the analysis method. I have the choice between manual analysis, meaning will have to select the host I want to add, etc., etc., and the automatic analysis, meaning I can add the host automatically. But also I can disable and enable hosts which are either excluded or included. This is made to make your configuration more dynamic, following the dynamism of your infrastructure, of your equipments, if it does really match your need. But for the demo, I will just do a manual analysis. And then I have the execution method. I can either execute the job directly after completing this without, or I can plan it to run later, or maybe to run several times. Here I have several kind of scheduling. I can choose weekdays or even every day at a specific hour, or even every X hour or minutes. So it can be useful with the previous setting to make, like I said, your configuration more dynamic following your infrastructure. But for the demo, I will also use the immediate execution. So let's start. So here I can see that my discovery is launched. And if we wait a little bit, we should have some results. Maybe here. So actually the discovery was done in 3 seconds, but because I did it on my poller, it took some extra seconds to get the result back. And then I have discovered like 355 items, meaning hosts. So if I look at my results, I can see here that I have all my VMs, okay, with the configuration, how can I say, the information I choose in the mapper. But if I want to change it, I can just edit the mappers right on my result. So here I can see that my IP address doesn't look like an IP address. So I can change the association made with the host IP by something I can find on the results. So here I have guest IP. If I choose this and save my mapping rule, I can see that I have now some IP addresses. Let's just filter on specific hosts, mine. I just want to work on mine for today. So here I can see that I have a host without any IP address. And if I look at the raw results brought by the discovery, I can see that this particular VM has a powered off state. So because I don't want to add hosts that are not running for monitoring purpose, I will just exclude them using an exclusion mapper. I can choose the power state source as a condition, and if it equals powered off, I will just exclude them. Okay, so now I have only powered on VMs. And I also know that if I look at the result, I have an attribute, the OS attribute that says, okay, those VMs are Linux VMs. So I can just add another template because I want to do OS wide checks. Let's use the OS source if it contains CentOS. I can just add the Linux template. Save. And here I have both host templates for the virtual layer and the OS layer. Okay. And one last thing, I don't want my VMs to be monitored from my Polar. Actually, I want to choose my central. So I will change it to be central here. And if I save, okay, my monitoring server is now the central. Everything I've done here is saved and linked to the job. So if I decide to schedule my job to run every hour or any kind of scheduling, it will apply this mapping rule. And if I want to add or make it dynamically by adding or disabling and enabling my hosts, it will also use this mapping rule. So let's add it manually here. Okay, if I refresh, I will see that everything is grayed out. So it looks like it has been added. If I go here on hosts, my hosts have been added with all the properties I defined in my mapping rule. If I look at the services also, I can see that I have the services linked to my host templates. So the virtual layer here and the OS layer here. And if I look at my host, I can see that I have the macros that was set on my mapping rule, defining where should I query for virtual layer information. And here, for instance, the VMU ID to identify the VM on my vCenter. If I look at the logs, the administration logs, I can see that everything is logged as it is for the manual addition of a host or through the APIs. So if I do plan my discovery to run every time, every X hour, I can follow here what has been done in terms of addition, disabling, and enabling. So like I said here, I just used the discovery part, the host discovery part, and now I want to do some service discovery. But just before, I will just edit this one maybe to plan it to run while we are doing something else. Let's see if I can just add the host automatically and schedule it to run on weekdays, so on Wednesday, and maybe at 21. Okay. So now my job should be, well, it should be scheduled now. So we will look it after. First I will show you the service discovery. So because I did had some hosts on my configuration, now I can do some service discovery. So if I go on the service scan submenu, here I can just choose one of my hosts and through a set of rules, choose which kind of service I want to add. So here I will try to look at the file system. So I have only one, looks okay to me. Same with the traffic interface. Should have one also here, perfect. So here, for this particular host, I now have generic, oh, okay, my host have been added here. This is my other jobs just running. Just for this host here, I have now my generic kind of checks, and those two particular checks that come from my service discovery and that are maybe sometimes just only for one particular host. If I had several partition, of course, several services should have been created. Here I can see that I have some new hosts, okay, that are coming from my other host discovery here that runs while I was speaking. Okay, it has been executed at 5:21, like I said, and those hosts have been added automatically to my configuration because I choose so. Something more about the service discovery, you can see that you have rules. Those are the rules I had on my drop-down menu. Those rules are brought by the plugin packs, and those rules are linked to your hosts because they are linked to host templates. So here, my hosts was actually linked to this host Linux SNMP host template. So that's why I was able to do some discovery about disk on these particular hosts. These rules also allow you to change the way the services are created by defining their names, or also by defining the templates they are going to use. And there is several advanced configuration. You can look at the documentation to know which can be interesting for your needs. Okay, if I look at the administration logs here, I can see that everything is logged, my services and my host being added by the discovery. I think I'm pretty much done here. Let's go back to my presentation. So what can we take away from this small demo and this small presentation? That there is two kinds of discovery, the host discovery and the service discovery. Both are independent, but both are working together to match actually what you want to do. The host discovery will add lots of hosts in a massive way, or you can just specifically add particular hosts like I did with only powered on VMs. And then service discovery can be used to trigger and add the exact control, exact check I want to add to my specific hosts. The service discovery also has a job that is run once a day. You can change this job to run several times a day. You can look at the documentation to know how this is through the configuration file of the Gorgon module. Also, we understood that everything is brought by the plugin packs. Both providers and rules are brought by the plugin packs. Some of them will only have providers, some of them will only have rules, some of them will have both. And then it relies on the Gorgon and plugin system that is already installed on your platform. So you don't have to do anything else. Just have your Gorgon running and your plugins installed on all the hosts that will do the actual discovery. Pierrick, I can leave you the hand here. Maybe.
Yes, thank you very much for this explanation. think that was pretty clear. It's now time for questions, and we'll try to answer. I can already see a few questions, but you know, it's still time for you to use the tool, the question tool on the right-hand side, and type in your question. The very first question is very easy, and I can answer it myself. It's linked to the software licenses. You know, is AutoDiscovery part of open source? If not, which license do I need? So AutoDiscovery Engine is not part of the open source software. You do need a software license. And in fact, the very first IT edition platform that we are selling includes the full 470 plugin packs, and we are adding new plugin packs every week, every month, and the AutoDiscovery engine to make the best use of this plugin pack. So you can even try that with what we call IT 100, which is the exact IT edition, commercial edition, but limited to 100 hosts. And in that case, this is free of charge. So you can try Discovery and plugin packs on that free version if you wish, before buying the larger version. So that was the first question, an easy one. A second question is, what happens if I change the service template related to host template of an host that I already discovered? And I think here it's even a more generic question. What happens if I change service templates for a host after the host has already been configured?
Okay, so if I understand well, it does it's related to the configuration, the template configuration itself. So if I change the configuration of a host template and I add or remove some service templates, because after the discovery, the addition of the host is already done, we just rely on the the classic inheritance system. So every change I do on my templates will have an effect on all the hosts I already had, whether it's by discovery or manually. So this is the actual same concepts as before, if I do understand well the question.
Okay. Is there a way to add a service with AutoDiscovery in status disabled?
To add it and not to actually have it enabled in your configuration?
To auto-discover some services, but to have them disabled by default, and I guess later on you enable them.
Yes. Okay. I don't think so. I know that there is, as for the AutoDiscovery, the same concept of enabling, disabling services that are not found anymore. Let's say I have found 3 partitions before, and I only find 2 partition on my discovery just now. I will disable one of those 3 partitions, but I don't think we can add discovery and disable it at the same time.
All right. I still have another question about service discovery, which is this is related to traffic discovery. Why Centreon use the global service template in service discovery instead of the name one?
It's because it's more practical. We use the global, and then we just use regexp matching to reduce the scope of the check to just check the actual interface, but it's the same for every kind of discovery. By using the name one, sometimes it's more difficult to actually catch the interface we want to monitor. It's easier to just use regexp and reduce the scope of the check. That being said, it does not really change the way the check is done. For those typical check, we use some cache to list all the interfaces, and then we just check the interfaces we want. So we do not browse all the interfaces to find the one we want.
All right. Let's say I have a host groups with many hosts. Is it possible to use service auto-discovery on multiple hosts at the same time?
Well, like we saw on the web UI, it's not actually possible. You can just choose one host and then one rule. You can repeat it as much as you want, but yes, it's only one and one. But then, like I said, you have the scheduled job that is running all the all the enabled service discovery rules on all the hosts that require them, and then actually you can use the Gorgon API to kind of massively discover services on several hosts using several rules. But there is no way you can use the host groups for now. You will have to define which hosts you want to discover services from.
Okay. So you have to configure each host of that service discovery automatically discovers everything.
Yeah.
And that can maybe through APIs, but this is the Gorgon, the new module, Gorgon
Yes.
API. And the next webinar will talk about Gorgon.
Mhm.
So maybe it's time for me to advertise about this webinar. There is one in exactly 7 days about multiple subjects linked to security and to the distributed architecture. So that will talk about Gorgon, the Gorgon module. And then 7 days later, another webinar about artificial intelligence and machine learning that you can register. All right, back to the questions. Let me see, where were I? If a partition, for example, /var/log is deleted by mistake, the auto discovery will consider that normal and disable the service? Question mark.
Yes, sure. When you configure your service discovery rule to disable items that are not found anymore, those will be disabled. There is no over intelligence about it. The service discovery does not know that you missed, you, how did you say? You
Deleted.
deleted, like, you didn't want it, because if the discovery doesn't find anything, it means that there is nothing to be found. So it will disable the service actually.
Okay. So it's not like a change log. It doesn't tell you, oh, I discovered that
No,
disappeared.
but
Okay.
you can also choose not to disable the services that are not found anymore. It's kind of yes, it's maybe more secure in some cases, just not to choose to disable things. From my point of view, it's better to not disable things automatically, as you, like the user say, you never know if it's normal or not that something is disappearing.
Okay. It's something that you can configure somewhere.
Yes, from the rule itself, you can define if it will be a rule that will disable not found items. And like we saw on the host discovery rules also, you can choose just to add newly discovered items and not disable the ones that are excluded.
All right. Hello, how does it work with cloud host services discovery, such as Amazon Web Services or Office 365?
Okay, so for the AWS part, it works relying on the CloudWatch. So we have a set of providers brought by the several plugin packs we have for AWS. So the plugins will just ask CloudWatch to list the instances based on the AWS region. and you will have to provide credentials to access the AWS service. So with limited access, just some limited access to just list information, and those access, well, those credentials will also be used to do the actual monitoring if you decide so. You can change them by other credential if you want, but the credential will be used for both discovery and monitoring. And for the Microsoft part, well, for the Office part, actually, I don't remember if we have any kind of discovery. I know that we don't have host discovery because there is no point to have those kind of discovery, I think, because those
No.
are services. So actually, maybe we have service discovery, but I'm not sure.
About AWS, in fact, we have a tutorial. I think we have a blog post which explains how to do it, and then we have a video tutorials that you can, search on our corporate website, which goes through all the details on how to set up for AWS. But as you said, the generic answer is if we can get an API to get the list of equipment, so that's the case of AWS, but we also do host auto-discovery for some SD-Wan environment or for some Wi-Fi environment. Last questions, but you can still enter your questions. We have still a few minutes, but the last one for now is, can I automatically change the name of the hosts, the host name, I guess?
If I understand well the question, can I influence the way the host names are used? Like we saw, we have the mapping rule on which you can choose the actual result attributes that will be used as host name. But then for now, you can only just choose a source. You cannot append like a free string to prefix your hostname, for instance. So actually, for now, it's only the results that will be used as a source to decide what will be your hostnames. But in the future, you will be able to also add some custom information by adding, like I said, strings as you want it.
Okay. Well, then we have a question which is not related to AutoDiscovery. Is the support channel open 24/7? We do have an option for 24/7 support contract. It's called the Zen contract. So by default, all our customers with the commercial editions have access to support during business hour. And if you take the extra Zen option, then you get 24/7 support. I think I've covered all the questions here. Yes. Well, thank you all for joining this webinar. Thank you, Colin, for these great explanations. Please join us for the next two webinars, and have a good day today. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks.